Stephen Tierney,
What's going on?
the host of Lean In.
Yep. How are we? All good?
Two worlds collide.
Yeah. At long last. It's been in the pipeline for a while, hasn't it?
100%, man. And thank you for coming on, because I know you are probably one of the busiest people I actually know.
Yeah, probably, man.
Between running your own studio, running your own business and hosting your own podcast, as well as all these other plates you're spinning. So thank you very much for coming on. I know a number of people listening will have tuned into Lean In, and they probably have heard some of the great episodes you've done into your backstory, and I would encourage everybody to go and listen, particularly to the one about the mafia dudes that Stephen dealt with his leasing his premises. However, I want to get a little bit more into who you are, where you come from, what you do. So you currently run STS, Strong Transformation Studios, formerly STPT, but that is basically the end point of a very long series of events.
Mm.
Tell us who Stephen Tierney is. How did you get into training and fitness?
Yeah, but it goes back to about 2012, 2013. The whole heartbreak. I was in a relationship for a few years. Got broken up with by the girl. Heartbroken, all this kind of crack. Unhappy. I was obviously, admittedly, like out of shape, very overweight, very unhealthy. A lot of drink, a lot of drugs, kind of stuff. I'm not going to say it was like depressed or anything like that, but very sad and insecure and stuff like that. And then one of these transformations pop up on Facebook, and it was an old friend who had a gym, and I started literally, like we spoke about, I started a 6-week thing, which turned into a 10-year thing, and just got basically addicted to the exercise, to the feeling good, to the good foods, to not drinking, to not doing drugs, and that just stayed with me, and I've just continued to do it up until today.
Yeah.
But it all started from literally being 22, 23 and having my heart broke. And I have people coming to me to this day as a client saying, I just went through a bad breakup, and I was like, take my hand. I know what to do here. Like,
I think a good few people can say their interest in health and fitness and becoming better probably did start with a breakup, and probably a feeling of like, well, I wasn't good enough, or I failed in some way. So this is an immediate way you can start making progress and getting better. Would some of this tie back in then when you were younger? You were a little heavier at one stage in life, if I'm not mistaken. I've seen the pictures.
Oh yeah, man.
I've seen the like two different people.
Yeah, no, I was out like, I was a little fat, so like I was fat as fuck back then, like 13, 14, 15, throughout primary school into secondary school. Then I started playing football. My manager had a rule with me, like, you can either start and come off at half time, or you can go on at half time and not start the match, because I was so unfit and unhealthy. Do you know what I mean? So I always was just not like super like obese, but like had unhealthy, smoker, had a bad asthma, like unfit. So it started maybe first year, second year, and then went up till 18, 19 into my early 20s until I started the transformation, you could say. But yeah, that was it. I was never, ever, ever naturally thin. Well, obviously you were as a child, but as I went into my teenage years, it was just buying, like, I'm talking 4 or 5 takeaways a week into the shop, like hiding food, that kind of stuff back in the house, because we didn't have it in the house, because I was obviously putting on so much weight. My mum and dad wouldn't buy it. So to me, chocolate and like quote unquote junk food was gold. So I just kept eating it, kept buying it, and then obviously ultimately paid the price for it.
Yeah. It sounds like naturally you mentioned your folks recognize this. And you touched off a good bit of this in your own podcast as well. You were talking about that, like when the shopping came in, it was like, yes. Yeah, man. Gold dust, here we go. Time to fucking go to town on the Tesco's finest, Donnybrook Fair,
Yeah.
Whatever it might be. But the question then is, what do you think it was that was this reliance on food as like a comfort? Did something happen when you were younger, or did you just love chocolate and food and shite?
I think it was a case of, I spoke to my nutritionist, Brian O'Hangasa, and he says, when something's out of your life when you're younger, you automatically will crave more of it. And the fact that I obviously used to buy with my own pocket money, you could say. And then I was obviously putting on a lot of weight. And then my parents abandoned it from the house. So when they abandoned it, I just kept wanting it more and more and more. So I think it's a case of it's kind of forbidden from the house. So I got into my mind, if it's forbidden, I want it. I want all the fucking food. So like I said, I think it was on Paddy's podcast that my mom, like, they'd hide the food, and then my mom would come home to shop, and then they'd go out for like 2 hours. And I'm like, back then, man, like, I'm getting on as well. I'm 16, 17, and I'm like my own little treasure hunt around the house for Rocky bars, like.
Yeah.
And it's not normal. So like, that's when it all started. And unfortunately, when I started doing that and I found how bad it was for me, I started getting really heavy, I started like restricting it then myself, and it came, like, and I was getting very fast into it, but it came into kind of an eating disorder, and I completely stopped eating all sorts of foods, and I was yo-yoing out of diets and eating disordered eating kind of stuff. So it's been a fucking rocky road in relation to nutrition. Like, to this day, I still have a nutritionist.
Yeah.
Like that, I believe that's still in you, but I have a much better control over it now. Like, I don't see, like, food to me now is just food, but back then it was like good food, bad food, restrictive, indulge. Do you know what I mean? I had no control over it.
Yeah, I noticed Dan didn't leave the Rocky bars
Yeah,
out
they'd
this
be
time
gone.
around.
It's when Martin walks in, Dan always has the bars out, and Martin eats them as well. But it was pretty bad. Like, at one stage, Ian, I was 21, 22, and I went to get hypnotized to go off sugar. Like, I tried that as well. Like, I tried everything, and actually just came down to a bit of mindset stuff around food.
I think it's interesting, and it's so true what you say. Like, those things stay with you.
For sure.
And it's really about developing management techniques to find it, like, because that's the point. It's the same with anything, whatever it might be that's mental or physical for people. It's finding a way to navigate that as you get older, not letting it own you, but understand that it is part of who you are. So you kind of, I suppose now, as you mentioned, you still work as a nutritionist to this day. That keeps you tapped in, dialed in, and especially with the industry we're in, you have to be able to talk, but also walk the walk. So it's great that you're somebody that does that. So then, in that time, you mentioned you played football. When else did that, like, physical activity or the gym start to take prominence? Was it right after this breakup?
For sure. So I used to go to Total Fitness in, where is it? I used to go to 42 from Seabreach at Total Fitness, which is at the Hilton Hotel. Across from there, I go in, and you know yourself, not a fucking clue what I'm doing. A few curls, running a treadmill in like van runners for like half an hour. Didn't know what I was doing. And then joined up with a transformation, started properly training. But like, again, first day of training, again, I was 22, 23, went in, got sick everywhere, made a show of myself. But yeah, I did not start weight training properly until 22.
Well, okay,
Yeah, so 10 years, 11 years on it now.
Grand. Well, I mean, it's interesting to hear that, because I'm sure there's people listening that probably can resonate with that, especially as somebody that's running a really successful business. You now help people get in shape. It's always interesting to hear how people started in the gym.
For sure.
Because you realize then, oh, well, Jesus, that guy who's in great shape and now shows other people how to do it was doing the exact same shit I was doing.
100%.
You know? So the transformation, was it 6 weeks, 8 weeks?
Yeah, back then it was 6 weeks.
What was involved?
Yeah, see, talking back about that now, it was completely fucking bonkers what was involved. Like, I was around coaches and people. Do you remember, like, Charles Poliquin?
Yeah.
It's John Meadows. What's his name?
Yeah, Meadows, yeah.
Yeah, rest in peace. Those kind of guys. I was around coaches that were like looking up to them. So I was in a gym that was really fucking, excuse me, to the T, very intense. There was PEDs being thrown around. And when I started the transformation, I was told for the first few weeks, we do a detox. We don't eat carbohydrates. So you're eating animal protein, green leafy veg, and nuts. That's all you have for 3 weeks. So I started doing that. And all of a sudden, I'm fucking losing a stone after 2 weeks. Do you know what I mean? Because you're completely, like, if you actually add, back then, Ian, no MyFitnessPal, nothing. And I'm literally living off macadamia nuts with Frank sauce on them. Like, do you know what I'm saying, man? Really, really fucking dark stuff. And like, my mom would like, do you want a banana? I'd be like, why are you eating bananas? They're fucking awful for you. Are you bulking?
That's
like,
poison.
Yeah, like a banana. So I was around that, training 5 to 6 days a week, running to the ground, like, hill sprints. Like, I was taught this crazy strong mentality that, like, I would never do with someone now. But back then, that's all I knew. So what was involved was basically no carbs, just protein and nuts and fucking green veg, and then train 5 to 6 days a week, no days off, team no sleep, double sessions, all this kind of stuff. So I did it. And I did it for 6 weeks, then 12 weeks, then I got a job in this gym. And lo and behold, I went into the course. And I started teaching that stuff, which is completely wrong. Like, it's bonkers. Like, and admittedly, again, I that's the way I learned. So I actually have to I obviously had to change my tune with coaching and the styles. I spoke to Larry Doyle about it. He was in the same kind of group with me, and he was saying it's pretty fucking bonkers what we were able to get away with back then.
I suppose though, when you turn back time to then, like, even in the last 5 years, evidence, education, availability of this information has changed the game drastically. Like, back then, like, honestly, a lot of us here didn't know. Like, I think nowadays people don't understand. Like, we were talking a little bit before the pod, I was regaling you on my wrestling history. Yeah. Like, when I started, there were no gyms.
Yeah.
Gyms weren't a thing. Like, your local GAA club or community centre might have a few weights in a back corner, but you didn't have like Fly Fits with their 20 squat racks, or like Bend Owens and Energy Fitness or Fuse, or even the likes of like the semi-private stuff. Like, your guys' studio or a PTI or all the CrossFit
Nothing.
gyms, none of this existed. So it was, you went in, you met these lads who were all doing this type of training, and it was this confirmation bias. Well, these guys do it, they're all jacked, so this is what works. So naturally, it's almost like, now I've found the secret. Yeah. So, and like, let's be honest, right? Here's the question I would always put to people when they have started down this route of this mad training modality or all these mad things you want to do. I think part of when you start training, as much as, we want people to start training more intelligently now, you kind of do want to have those, like, I want to push myself because I feel like I was, like, you came out of your break, you're probably feeling like a fucking butterball, feeling a bit worthless. There was probably a degree of, I want to fucking punish myself here and push as hard as I can to prove something to myself.
100%, man. Like, it's just crazy thinking back. Like, we, do you know the mentality of you don't finish your leg day till you can't walk out of here. Mm-hmm. We had that every day. You don't finish your Prowler session till you get sick. Like, I used to do the Prowler sprints up in Sea Park Hill with Mark and John, and they'd have the sick buckets out. And that was every day. And then I'm putting points through that. And I had a father of a 18-year-old ring me. What did you do to my son yesterday? I go, what do you mean? We just trained. He goes, he has his leaving cert today. He can't get out of bed. He can't go into work. So I was taught these absolutely crazy methods to fuck people up. And that's how I got into it.
Yeah. But I mean, but that is what training used to be. That used to be the belief.
No programming, nothing. Literally, like, train and saying or remain the same. All this shit. That's all I was told. Literally. So not good.
Yeah. So you ended up qualifying this. So naturally, you liked it enough that you're like, I'm going to teach people to do this.
Yeah.
You qualified. You start working in the gym. You establish your client base, and then in that time, you figured out, you know what, I want to do this myself. So you took the bold step to open your own studio, which I think at the time was a relatively small space. It was like big enough considering, probably bigger than this room we're in right now. But you had your own place, your own set of clients, and that's one thing I want to talk about specifically, because I think a lot of people that get into the industry now, it's always either I want to be an online coach or I want to run my own gym. But you know the realities of it. What was that experience like? So you went from, the insulation of working for somebody, having clients provided, to saying, fuck this, I'm independent, I'm ambitious, I'm going to sort myself out. And you started your unit down in Seatown. What was that process like?
A blur. Firstly, I had to do it because I got sacked from the other job.
Right.
So we can get back into that again, but I was I told you there, I was out of shape PT. I was very heavy. I wasn't training. I was eating shite, and I kind of wasn't up to the standard of this other job. So I got sacked from there. I was at home sitting on the couch playing. I had a conversation with Dan on my podcast. I was just playing FIFA. Didn't know what to do. And then my mom texted me saying, there's a place down in Seatown. Do you want to have a look at it? And I was like, where's Seatown? Like, I didn't know this place existed. So I went down and I went into the landlord, and he was like, you can have the place to yourself. And I was like, oh, geez, I don't know if I can do this now. But you're turning 23. Well, I was turning 23, and I was like, back then, you're like, people are like, we're getting on now. I know I was only 23, but I'm like, what am I going to do here? I can either sink or swim. Do this now, build a business, try my best, and go for it. Or else if I don't do that, I'm going to go back to doing special needs assistance, which I was shit at. I wasn't good at sales at the time. I wasn't good at them now. Back then I was shit at them as well. So I have to do this now, or I'm going to fail. So it's one of them case called, I believe it's called forced evolution. You put yourself in a position, you make this work or you're fucked.
Yeah.
And you have to stop. So I just made it work, and I just had this vision in my head that I have to do it. So I'm not even going to say it was like, it's tough, Ian, don't get me wrong, but you don't think like that. Because you have to think in front of you, like, I have to do this or I'm fucked. So it just became this like monster. Honestly, it just became like 1 client was 2 clients was 10 clients. Then I was like, oh, maybe I don't have to do 1-to-1. So I have a group of 20 in. Then I got a little staff member here. Then I got a little intern here. So it happened very fast, but you don't actually think of how tough it is when you're going through it. But nowadays, 10 years later, every day is like, fuck this. Because it's a different animal completely.
Yeah, it's grown massive. But I think that's one of those things. It's, you speak there on, like, you might not, you said to yourself, I was shit at sales then, but I've learned you've gotten much, much better. But that's the thing, isn't it? With most of these things, it's you have to be willing to be shit at something for a while to get good at it.
Man, you know yourself, you're probably the same. Like, I think to get better at something, like, basically repeat what you said, you have to be shit at it and admit it and have some awareness to, right, I have to improve on this. And I was shit at everything. And then, it just became very, very fucking big, very fast. And then because I was so bad at sales, I had to learn how to do sales. Because I was so bad at programming from my previous job, I had to go to do seminars. Because I was so bad at customer service, because I worked for someone, which I didn't look after anyone, the boss did. I have all these clients myself now. I have to deal with these people, go through the ups, go through the downs, like take the complaints. I used to get really defensive with complaints. Now I'm like, give me the complaints so I can improve. I think it was just a massive maturity jump back then as well.
Yeah, it sounds like it would, especially at the age like 23, 24. That's very challenging to have people criticizing the way you run your business. But I suppose you have to zoom out and look at how many 23-year-olds are running their own business, really. Yeah. So I think it's that it speaks to the mindset of somebody that like wants to put themselves in those challenging positions. But like that, it's one of these things, and we tend to pedestalize entrepreneurs. I'm sure there's people that look at your business and go, Jesus, like Tierney's doing all right, but they don't realize like all the little things that happened along the way. So you touched off it there. In your last job, you actually got the sack for, you basically stopped being the person that was needed in that role. You let yourself go. What happened? Because you mentioned that like you had gotten in good shape, you were punishing yourself, I suppose, at an unsustainable level, got qualified, start working in this gym. What happened in there that you let it go?
Like you said there, and you answered it, it was unsustainable. So I was taught by these boys, and to this day, whatever, their sound, everything was grand, but because it was so unsustainable, I had no wrap on my nutrition or my training. So I was doing 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, crash, get fat again. 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 week crash, get fat again. And in the meantime, I was working in this place. And at the time, I was kind of getting heavy again. I wasn't training. I was absolutely fucked. Eating disorder, poor body image. And I'm working with these people that like are looking like Greek gods, and there's a lot of pressure. And then obviously these guys were growing, and I was kind of staying the same because I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know how to eat well. I don't know, like protein, macros, carbs, all that crap back then. I hadn't a clue. So I was kind of yo-yoing, out of the loop completely, hanging on by this job by a thread. And then ultimately he was like, you're not up to standard. You have to go. And back then, man, I was in his office fucking crying like a little fucking bitch. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Because after that, I was like, right. And then I went into like the sustainable approach. Got to coach myself. And I was like, this is pretty easy. Looking after yourself. It doesn't have to be this crash course. Like,
you don't have to kill yourself to get see results.
Yeah. So where would I be if I didn't get sacked? Would I still be preaching this shit?
That's it. Like, growth only really happens when you're put at the edge of your comfort zone and you get pushed out, which is essentially what happened to you. Like, fuck you. Go out there and make it on your own. Like sink or swim. As they say, it's all cliche, but it's cliche for a reason. But you did touch off it there, and I think it's something that we could really lean into is you mentioned eating disorders.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit more.
Now, I was never clinically diagnosed, you could say, about eating disorder, but I know there was stuff I was doing that like isn't healthy. Like, again, I was working around these guys who were jacked, in great shape, and I was trying to keep up with them. So I was eating, again, loads of protein, no carb, nothing what I loved, and I kept doing that to try to get into the shape. And when you're young like that as a coach in this industry, I felt at the time, not anymore, there was a lot of pressure to look a certain way. So I was willing to do absolutely anything to be jacked. So I went through stages, and this is no word of a lie, I was going through stages that I actually didn't eat a calorie for like at one stage I didn't eat for 5 days.
Holy shit.
5 days. There's an app on my phone called Fast, and you do your fasts. It started off with intermittent fasting. Then someone's like, try 24 hours, try 36 hours. And in my head, I'm like, oh, I can go all day because I'm fucked up here with my food. Back then, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then I got to a stage where I had a really bad, like, you could say binge back then, say 7-8 years ago. I felt so guilty from it. I didn't eat a calorie for 5 days. And that's when I was like, this is a mad issue. And then I reached out to Larry Doyle in 2017. And he's like, you're a coach. I was like, yeah. And he's like, what the fuck is going on here, man? And I had to tell Larry, and Larry fucking shout out. He taught me everything. You don't need to be doing this. And then that's how he taught me.
Was Larry your first coach?
First coach, Larry.
Yeah. And he's in the game a good long time.
There you go, man. I saw his results. I saw his lifestyle approach, sustainability approach, maintainable approach. And I went to him, and then he was like, I think he saw like, I had a really successful business at the time, but he was like, Jesus, what's going on behind the scenes there with you? And I told him everything, and he'd have like, say 250 grams of carbs. And I'm like, oh, I can't eat all them. He's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And Larry is I learned so much from Larry. He's the most straight talking, like rootless, but like just talk sense to you. Like, do you know what I mean? I was never used to that. And he just told me how it was, what to do. And then I literally just kind of piggybacked off Larry as coaching, and I learned from Larry, and that's how I kind of coach now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, eating disorder never went to get like help off like, I was never, again, properly told I had it, but I spoke to Brian O'Hangasa and I told him these behaviours. He's like, oh, that's flat out eating disorder. Like, so
I think there's things like that are obvious. Like, I don't think if somebody chops off your leg, you don't need a doctor to say, well, you're going to die if somebody doesn't do something about that.
Cover that up.
Yeah, like 5 days of eating nothing.
Not a single calorie, man. Not a single calorie. I was down in Starbucks, having black coffees. I was like hiding away from the house so my parents didn't see me. Do you know what I mean? Because if they saw me, they would have known what was going on. So I had to stay. Like, I'd leave and it was dark. I'd be gone all day and it was bright. I'd go home and it was dark again. And then on the 5th day, I'll never forget, it was the 110th hour. I was in the car and I was driving off. And let's say you're in front of me. I looked that way towards that primal sign, but I could still see you, if that makes sense. Yeah. And looked, it was like delayed vision.
Yeah.
And I was like, and it was kind of a moment of like, what in the fucking God's name are you doing? You're going to crash the car. Like, so, yeah. So I've been like, and this is no badge of honor, man, but when I say I've been through it all in regards to like body image, eating disorders, steroid abuse, I have done everything that you shouldn't do.
Do you think there's an element of one of the things that attracts like trainers to the industry is because they have some underlying issues? Because I know you've had very candid conversations with other coaches on your own podcast, and a lot of them share, maybe not exactly the same, but very similar stories. So I always wonder, particularly people that are drawn into the more like aesthetic or bodybuilding side or transformation side of training and fitness, is it that there's this like underlying need for them, or do they attach so much value to how they look, or what do you think it might be?
Yeah, like, so you're saying like, I believe the industry is full of fucked up people that have had fucked up problems. As coaches, I totally agree. And the reason I got into it was because of all these issues. And I attached body image to everything. Back then, I was like, you have to look a certain way to be a good coach. So I think a lot of coaches coming into the industry, unfortunately, are doing the same shit that I did. Not to this extent, but I do believe that I don't know how many out of 10 coaches are coming in now, and I'd say over half of them, I was fucked up. 100%. I don't think many people are coming in. Not that I don't think it, but I'd be surprised if people are coming in that they want to help people. I guarantee you, everyone has their own story, and the story is a fucking shit show.
Yeah.
What do you think?
So this is like one of the main reasons I wanted to have you on for a discussion is because I think we've both come into the same industry, but from two polar opposites.
Yeah.
Like I've mentioned, I've learned so much from listening to Lean In that I don't think I was aware of. Like I've always tried to be aware of the other side and be more empathetic to the client experience, but I've always had quite a healthy relationship with food, and I've had periods in my life of being more out of shape. Particularly, as I mentioned, I took a year and a half off wrestling. But when we were talking prior, Jesus, if it's all blurring together,
bam.
back in my Bam Catraz days.
Yeah,
so I had like a year and a half when I was off wrestling. I did get quite like out of shape. Like, I wouldn't say I veered into obesity, but definitely like loss of a lot of muscle tissue, very doughy around the waist. But I don't think I ever got to a point where I felt very negatively about my relationship with food. I had like that cop on moment where like I started being more accountable, started eating more greens. I kept eating my carbs, kept eating my my proteins, things like that. Like, I became more aware of my food. And I had Dean, who I had on the podcast, I have a lot of it to thank for him. The only like diet I ever tried was I tried ketogenic diet on brief intervals, because that was the rage back in like 2012, to try these like low carb phases to get into ketosis. So I tried a little bit of that. I tried like for about a month, I tried a little bit of intermittent fasting windows. But again, it was all just because it was a fad at the time. I never went through prolonged periods of time where I did like grueling diets or grueling like punishing workouts. I've always had somewhat of a struggle. Again, I put a lot of this onto Dean helping me out at the beginning. He gave me my first program and I ran that shit to the ground, man. I made great gains off that. I've always understood to a degree that I need to be able to eat to fuel the efforts. I think I've always naturally been drawn towards performance. Initially, it was like just cool feats of strength, a big massive deadlift, being able to jump really high on a box, being able to like do X amount of chin-ups or pull-ups. Those things to me are like, there was a guy who was big on YouTube or Instagram early on in its time. He did like, it was like tactical training, and he'd like run like he was a big jack dude. He'd wear weighted vests and he'd jump over an obstacle and jump through a tire, and then he'd do like a burpee and then he'd throw a tire over his head, and I was like, that's fucking deadly.
Yeah.
I loved that shit. There was a guy, Elliot Hulse, a strongman from the US, who he had this thing called a tornado ball. It was a big weighted ball on the end of a short rope, and he'd stand with his back to all and he'd twist and just bang, bang, bang.
I know,
bang,
well,
bang.
yeah, you always see that, yeah.
Yeah,
like a standing Russian twist kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I was
deadly,
like,
yeah.
That looks cool.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't care about being like so jacked lean that I had like all these mad striations. I just wanted to look
strong.
Like I could fucking kill you, you know?
Yeah,
like
yeah, fucking right.
Like a little army tank, like a little shaved gorilla.
Yeah.
But so that's why I think these conversations are important, because that has taught me, so listening to your podcast has taught me so much about the other side of it. So when I speak about, like, I think maybe a lot of coaches get into it that are hyper fixated on aesthetics, maybe there's a part of them that felt undervalued at some stage in life, or they've received negative comments or bullying about their appearance, or maybe they've just formed this idea when they were younger, when you become very image focused when you're a teenager, and they're like, I'm ugly, or I don't have a nice face, or I don't have a nice body, so I need to change to be worth something to other people, and they carry that into their careers. There's actually, I want to get your thoughts, but there's this phrase, right, that I think you can kind of like manufacture and twist into a personal trainer thing. They say that the person you grow up to be is the person you needed when you were a kid. So I wonder if the type of coach you become is the coach you would have needed when you were getting into it.
That's a fucking very good show.
So when you were at your lowest, maybe you now would have been the coach that really spoke to Stephen when he was sitting playing FIFA on the couch.
Imagine I could go back now and speak to little 15-year-old Stephen now, what I've gone through. Do you know what I mean? And I think, like you said there, I think it all comes from your childhood. I was slagged and ridiculed for being fat, overweight, unhealthy looking. So I was obsessed with how I looked. I wasn't called weak or skinny arms. If I was, I'd probably be more like your performance based. But because I was around an environment that I was overweight and fat. I think that's why you absorb it and you become like insecure about it. So that's why I think I completely went the image avenue as opposed to the strength.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of bittersweet, Ian, because I believe with everything that I've gone through, and this isn't a sob story, but I mean genuinely like experience, I believe I am a good coach now because I have gone through it all. Mm-hmm. And because I have loads of clients coming in that are going through the same thing.
Yeah.
And I think if you're a coach that doesn't feel what they've felt, how can you help them? Mm-hmm. But I know every insecurity, I know every bit of sadness they're going through because I've gone through it. So it is bittersweet. You have to go through some serious shit, but you can help a lot of people with it.
Yeah.
You know?
You can empathize completely with their position because you've been in the trenches. You've been somebody who's been in the depths, and that's exactly it. Like it's something now I'm trying to learn. Like naturally, I'm a person. I'm aware of my body and how I look, and I kind of have like markers for myself. I'm like, oh, I could lean into gaining a bit of weight here if I wanted to, or I should probably pull back and getting a bit rotund, you know. But I think those are hard margins. I suppose I'm lucky in the sense that growing up, I always had an outlet like pro wrestling and now with powerlifting that I could find value in the way what my body can do and not just how it looks. And I suppose if I was to lend any like advice to anyone who's strictly in the aesthetic end, like your body's going to change all the time, no matter what you do. Like you've mentioned yourself before we started, we talk about like when people do like photoshoot preps, that's one very distinct snapshot in time. You look great for about an hour.
Yeah.
But you're not going to look like the whole prep. You didn't look like that, and the whole refeed after you're not going to look like that. So it's great that you have the discipline, but like maybe find some other value that your body is capable of incredible things. So like if I take somebody who, and I have this now with some lifters that I train that would have been like so obsessed with their aesthetic that now that they've switched over to like, oh wow, it's great that I can like deadlift twice my body weight for reps. And I still look good. It's like, great, by focusing in on your performance and becoming process orientated, you are actually starting to uncover those aesthetic benefits or those aesthetic improvements that you wanted by not, checking every week or every day how I look. How am I looking now?
Yeah.
Oh shit, I don't look as good. I need to cut out more carbs. Or focus on performance, feeling performance. So that's what ultimately leads them down that track. But like you said, I think because you've been there, you probably have a lot more experience on that end than me, and that's something I have to now proactively learn. And podcasts like Lean In help me.
But likewise, Ian, I'd sometimes wish I went into the performance aspect of it because I've never looked at like the more I hang around with you now in speech, I'm like, geez, I was going to say it on the way down. I'm like, I might actually ask to do a bit of coaching with him down the line because the more I see it now, and I'd much rather be worried about my bench or my 1 rep max than fucking I don't anymore really care about it because I'm at peace with it, but. My whole coaching thing was how you look in aesthetics, and what you have now with clients is such a healthier, you could say like it's a much less insecure route.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Completely. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I think the needle can be pushed in two directions because I think you become over obsessed with how you look, and that can lead you, as you've well discovered, fasting for 5 days and having delayed vision, you can put yourself in serious danger if you focus too much on the aesthetic end. But I always stand and point the finger sometimes at powerlifting. While I like that it's particularly for younger athletes or female athletes, it's okay to the scales doesn't say 47 kilos anymore. It's okay that it says 55 kilos. You still look great, and you're healthier now. You fucking have a regular cycle and you have a libido and you're in a good mood. As much as I love that aspect of it, I hate that it also then encourages people that the only tangible value is weight on the bar, and it doesn't matter how fucking terribly unfit you get. Like I've talked to Jake Brennan here openly.
Very good point. Yeah.
I do not think any amount of weight you can lift is worth your long-term health. So if you're a dude and your waistline is drastically past 40 inches, I don't know that that's worth an extra 30 kilos on your deadlift.
I have a question for you, Ian. Do these powerlifters that are they morbidly obese?
Some of them would be. Yeah.
Okay. Do these guys, do they tell themselves, oh no, it's just for my lifts, or are they just too lazy to get the body fat down?
I'd imagine it's a combination of multiple factors. I imagine those are two of them.
Yeah.
I think it's like most things. Like, think about it. I'm sure you went through this as well. And I want to touch off some of the photo shoot stuff a little bit later. I'm sure it's hard for people and even clients when they achieve like a great physique and they know there's a period of time later where they're going to have to gain some weight, let's say, to get, like, you know, start putting on some muscle, go through another phase of training, come out of that like deficit. So their body's not going to look the same. But they're so attached to who they are when they're that lean. I think it's the reverse for powerlifters. I'm so attached to who I am when I'm 150 kilos and I'm the guy that can deadlift 350 kilos and squat 400 kilos and bench 200 kilos. I'm so attached to being that guy that I'm not sure it's worth it to me to lose 35 kilos and be healthier.
Gotcha.
If I can't lift that weight, because it's so intrinsic to their identity. But there is also the element of that they're willing to be the person that sacrifices their long-term health to be the best.
To keep the numbers up. Yeah.
Exactly. And fair enough.
Fucking right, absolutely.
To each their own, but I'm also hyper aware of, like, so this is the point, right? Most people that enter any sport are never going to be the best at it. They're never ever going to be in the top 10%. They'll probably be lucky to be in the top 50%. So we look at the average, right? And these people are this is kind of one of the problems with sports like powerlifting or football or anything. They're so worried about being specifically good at, like in powerlifting, these three things, squat, bench, and deadlift, that they realize they're trying to be a very specific athlete when they could just be a general athlete. Like, I do conditioning twice a week. I do cardio all the time. I train, like, I do a lot of like bodybuilding stuff or whatever, hypertrophy stuff, higher rep accessory work. I still train my squat, bench, and deadlift, and I'm willing to sacrifice the kilos on the bar down the road to be fitter and healthier now, especially as I'm in my 30s. Like, my heart health, my body composition in terms of like my fat mass and my lean muscle mass are more important to me so I can live a fuller, happier life in the next 20, 30, 40 years, assuming nobody runs me over in that time. Could happen. Those health markers are more important to me, and being like an average at everything rather than just being a great squatter that weighs.
And your health goes down.
Yeah, and I fucking like have a BMI of 42, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that would be kind of my thing. And in the same way, I see how it translates. Like, I love performance-based training because I think it shows people they're way more than just how they look, and it shows them the value. So long as they remember that we are still trying to be healthy, functional individuals that can just get through life as well. And this is just a fun thing that we do.
It's like health in the middle, isn't it? And let's say health is here, performance is here. Like, you can still like push for performance, but you have to keep the health there.
Absolutely.
With fat loss and being ripped, like jacked, my kind of niche. I want that, but I still want you healthy as well. Do you know what I mean? Because it's always going to come back to that. But people, like you said there, I've had a few rough ones, like with photo shoots, and I have to bury home. You're not going to look like this tomorrow. We have to accept it. Like, and it's been tough, but again, we're still learning with the whole thing. But we'll get into the photo shoot thing. But it's people like for example, I did a photo shoot recently. Right, I was completely aware that I was at my best mentally. I wouldn't have done it if I wasn't. Like, I knew I was going to look like this a certain way, and then the next couple of days would have been fine. However, 6 or 7 years ago, when I was working with Larry, we were just doing a 12-week blah blah blah, and it was the first time that I ever started actually getting like jacked, and I was like, fucking hell, I actually found it quite addictive back then to how jacked I was getting, and I was going on holiday, so it's the worst thing you can do. 12-week cut for a holiday, right? Obviously, you know what happens. I got like, I got to the holiday, we had like an all-you-can-eat buffet, and Larry was like to me, you're going to put on some water weight, you're going to look a bit watery, and that's okay. I was like, yeah, cool, I don't care, Larry. In my head, I was like, not going to happen, I'm going to do cardio on the holiday and all this shit, right? So we go over there, on the plane, I had a fucking, say, pack of Pringles and a few jellies. I was like, geez, I don't feel great. Got to the hotel, had a dinner with Aisling, into the bathroom, pulled up my top. I was like, fuck's sake, I'm mad bloated. Went back out to Aisling, sat down. She's like, you all right? I was like, yeah, I'm grand. It's not really feeling great. The holiday was amazing. The night was amazing. Aisling's looking great. We're having a conversation. In my head, I was like, I'm so fucking bloated. Why do I look like this? So I immediately got freaked out that I wasn't looking like that. So I completely attached my identity to this physique I got in. Do you know what I mean? So it's the exact same with photo shoots and people, and the dangers of, if you're not aware, but here's the thing, there has to be all this kind of research and vetting before anything can happen. Do you know what I mean? And I think you asked me earlier off air about my clients' photo shoots and what approach we take with them. Was it?
Yeah, like it's like a big broad topic. So I think it's one of those contentious points where in this industry you've got these two polar opposite stances on things like transformations, photo shoots, even bodybuilding preps, where like some people are staunchly in support of it. Like they're like, it's very mentally challenging. It pushes you to new levels of discipline and really shows you that if you want to, you can achieve this like almost godlike physique. Because like reality, even whether it's like not necessarily full bodybuilding prep, it's just photo shoot prep. Like people look amazing by the end of it, like if they really put their mind to it. But then there's the other stance that's like, this is a really like unsustainable short-term intervention that sells people a product that is like almost a form of false advertising and could potentially do more harm than good. So I think it's these two polar opposite points. And like most debates, the problem is when people argue past each other, you're never going to reach a consensus. So I think it really comes down to both sides getting to present their point and genuinely listen to what the other side has to say. Because like I've never ever advertised a transformation or a photo shoot. It's not something I've ever considered doing myself. In the past, I would have been staunchly against it. I would have been very outspoken against it. But in conversations I've had with you, in conversations I've had with other coaches that sell similar products, even having the likes of Ben on here multiple times, and he's somebody who will highlight that he's a results-based coach. And I can see that his vetting process is very, very, very deep. He goes really into who the person is, where they're at already, what they've been through, what they've tried, where their relationship is with food and training. He wants to know everything about them before he'll onboard them for that process. And I think that the devil is in the details with these things. So I would rather, like this, I would rather invite somebody like yourself on who's been there, done that, got the t-shirt, who's actually been on the other end of a very strict prep for a photo shoot, and ask you, rather than telling people it's a bad thing or saying you shouldn't do it. I'd rather, like you said, you have a very descriptive and a very informative and personal onboarding process where you have to like vet these people.
So the discussion is they're dangerous. Is that correct? Like if it's a say an 8 or 12 week thing, they're not sustainable. If they get to that shape, they can't keep it there. Their image is not good with themselves. Is that basically the debate you're saying?
I would assume so. I would assume it's that the person is going to undertake these radical changes over a short period of time to achieve this physical result, and it's the potential ramifications after that period, what they see themselves as, the rebound back into weight gain, like what this does to their physical and mental health and things like that. Like I had Shane Story on, and he spoke very candidly about his he lost his libido completely in his prep for bodybuilding. Now Shane did it over a much longer period of time under the guidance of 3DMJ. So that was all handled. But again, even that, like I had a good few people message saying that's wrong. He shouldn't be doing that. He shouldn't be subjecting his body to that. For those listening, Shane's Mickey works now. So if they were worried.
But I listened to Shane's and I was like, I wasn't shocked. I was like, that happens. Do you know what I mean? If you're extremely limiting calories and your energy expenditure to the roof, it's going to happen naturally. But if you know it's only for a few weeks. But here's the thing, when I said it out loud, people are like, what the fuck do you mean only for a few weeks? That shouldn't happen. That's not healthy. But these are just opinions. There's no right and wrongs. It's what you want to do. But just to go back to, say, the transformation talk, and I can see how people have a tarnish with like, it's not healthy, it's not good. If the industry, if the fitness industry, and I'd be a hypocrite if I didn't say, I used to do this. When I started off, what did I tell you at the very start of the episode? I was fucking rallying people.
Yep.
Extremely dangerous, low carb, no carb, got them absolutely jacked. And then they introduced carbs. How do we introduce carbs? Just eat loads of carbs. That's when you fuck people up. But the way we do it now at STS is I get an application form. Any form of eating disorder. How is your relationship with your food? Relationship with yourself? Why do you want to do this? Go deeper. Why again? How is your body image? Stuff like that. If everything is okay, we will go into a fat loss phase because they've nailed the fundamentals. If everything's like, I had an eating disorder, I was bulimic, I was this, I was that, we will not go near it. We'll do the fundamentals, I'd say, because in my opinion, it can actually take, say, 16 to 20 weeks to actually just nail the fundamentals and then go into fat loss. So some people we have on transformations apply for a 12-week cut, but we're not even dieting yet. We're actually going to maybe just eat some carbs here and there and then do it. But if we get someone coming in saying, I have a holiday here. I'm down the road and fly fit. I do fuck all. I just need accountability. My relationship with food is fine. I don't restrict. Can you train me? Fucking right, I can. So it's all depending on the person coming in. But if I have someone coming in that's had eating disorders, is afraid of eating carbs, can't look themselves in the mirror, doesn't like doing starting pictures, all these red flags. I'm like, are you going to do transformation? So completely like everything else, Ian, it depends on the individual.
For sure. Do you know, you actually said something there, and I think I've had this conversation multiple times, like with different people for different reasons, but I think it's one of the issues with the English language, right? So when people see transformation plastered on a poster or an Instagram post or whatever, they are going to interpret it their way. Right. So again, some people interpret it positively, negatively. Some people just see it as part of training and fitness. Okay. So like previously I would have interpreted it negatively, but now I understand what transformation means to everyone is totally different. And all it really is it's an invitation to people to say, I want to make a change. Right. So the way I'm understanding it here is if you do take somebody through, let's say an 8 to 12 week transformation, for some people, it might be that extreme photo shoot cut where they get in the best shape of life, assuming they're the right person. But for some other people, it might literally be just getting start on habits and behavior. They went from not training at all to doing some structured training with your guidance and started being a bit more accountable with their food. So from point A to point B, from the start to the finish, they look a million times better, but you didn't really introduce anything unsustainable. You just got them being a bit more accountable with training and fitness. Yeah. So the word can mean a completely different thing for all these different people.
So like when you see transformation, people automatically think fat loss, muscle gain, not sustainable. And that's absolutely cool. People are entitled to their opinion. But I have ladies and lads that they do 12-week transformation and the end could be, Stephen, I don't give a fuck about the scales.
Yeah.
I went out and I wasn't anxious around my mates having a big meal. I slipped into that dress. That's transformation done. But we're in an industry where we're selling transformations. We're selling, I will change your life for the better. Am I saying I'm going to get you 8% body fat? No. So where's the narrative coming from? So with the transformation, it completely comes down to the person. I will always say, yeah, I'll get someone jacked in 12 weeks if it's the right person. But the other person could be, I get someone, again, not going out for a Ruby's and not getting a salad, just having your food.
Yeah.
You know?
So some of it is that. It's like for some people, the transformation, even I'm air quoting here for those listening, could be reframing how they interact with food out with their friends and socializing. Yeah. So that transformation might be nothing about their appearance. It might just be, you know what, Stephen, I went out to Ruby's or the old schoolhouse and I didn't order the salad. I actually ordered a burger and chips and I felt great about it. Yeah. I felt that I could actually have a good time with my friends. So and I think that's a really important message because that's something like I said previously, but when I first got into fitness, something I would have been against. But as I've learned more, I'm trying to be more receptive to the fact that there's more than one way to skin a cat. Yeah. There's more than one way to appeal to the general public. And that is really what we have to look at. The bigger picture thing is most adults don't exercise at all. Like most people don't ever go to a gym. So if we take the tiny subset of people that go to the gym, they're all going to have an opinion on the things in the fitness industry. Of course. But we're not talking to them because those fuckers are already in the gym and training. Yeah. You're talking to these massive load of people that I just want to get you off your couch and onto a treadmill or off your couch and on a bike or off your couch and under a squat rack. I want you to go from, having absolutely no idea about eating and food to being aware that, oh yeah, protein is something you could probably eat a bit more of. A little bit more fiber in your diet would be a great thing. Maybe not necking 15 cans on Friday is a good idea. So I completely see the value of that. But in the chat prior to us hitting record here, we were talking a bit about how you guys, your staff at STS went through a very grueling prep for your own photo shoot. So that experience and how you did and I remember you document, actually I was working in Flyfoot at the time and you guys were coming in and out and it was quite funny to watch because you went from being really chatty coming in on the cross trainer to just like don't fucking look at me, pretend I'm not here, just let me do this fucking hour on this cross trainer. Like talk me through that experience firstly.
So
because I know you enjoyed it.
I fucking loved it. And I'm never going to sit here and lie, man. I'll do it again. I wouldn't put someone through what I done, basically, which we'll get into. I was working with a coach from the UK, as was Martin, as was Aisling, the female coach who was working with us. Paddy had sorry, blew Dan's ears off there on yours. Paddy had a coach at the time as well. So it was me, Martin, Paddy, and then my Aisling, my girlfriend, was with another coach. And all around the same time, each coach was kind of doing a photo shoot end of the year because people do it at the end of the year to market for Christmas, blah, 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 blah. So I said, fuck it, let's do it. So me, Aisling and Martin signed up with my guy, Aisling signed up with her guy, and Paddy signed up with her guy. And I was like, right, as from a coach's standpoint, I was like, let's get in good shape. Let's show we can walk the walk and talk the talk. Because I do believe in this industry, there's a lot of out of shape coaches that talk shit, do this, do that, while they're sitting on their arse on the couch. Mm-hmm. And they fit shame, which we'll get into as well. And I think fit shaming comes from a point of, you can't get in shape, so you will slag it. You want to make money off fit shaming? That's fine. But we're going to do what we're going to do. So we went for this photo shoot. And at the time, I was in a good place. We all were. Like, we had Paddy on the podcast. Everyone was cool. Like, I'm okay with being out of shape now. So was Paddy, so was everyone. So we went welly. Like, we went absolutely welly. Who cares about numbers and all? But we did that. Some of us had a really good experience, myself included, Martin, Aisling, Paddy, and then one of the girls had a bad experience. So that what's the question on that? Like, it's basically
I wanted to know about the experience itself. So like it was those grueling long cardio sessions regularly as well. You were doing them like
every day,
and you were training as well.
It was sorry. So basically the experience, the experience was I wanted to experience what it was like to actually put myself through a grueling prep. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just me. I love having this thing that's you against you. You're either going to do what you said you're going to do, or you're going to bottle it and not do it. And you can just get into that place of like I don't know what it is. Just the like people that have self-discipline, I fucking love. Do you know what I mean? Like even with you, I listen to conversations with you, with Ben, with Dan, with people that do what they said they're going to do, and they get stuck in and they're just bulletproof. I love all that stuff. So I said, let's just do it.
Yeah.
So it was 5 training weight sessions a week, 6 hours of cardio a week. And the calories went to, it doesn't matter what the calories went to, they went to super low.
I don't think that's worth disclosing because it's not a prescription. This was specific to you.
Yeah, just to train the methods where, exactly, based off my weight, height, etc. So that was absolutely grueling. Would I do it again right now? I'd do it again one day, but not right now, Ian, because basically what happened was think about it. We're all learning still, right? And as a business owner who's doing quite well, I'll hold my hand up. When in hindsight, putting 5 staff members on a photo shoot prep with a 400 client gym is dumb as fuck. Out of nowhere, drop-offs, forgetting check-ins, all that kind of crack. So the experience is great. We got to the day of it. But we were all so at peace with ourselves. There was no bad relationship with food. There was no bad body image. We all knew on the day, we are going to look like this today. Tomorrow we're going to look like fucking elephants and be bloated as fuck. And that was cool. We all did it. And we came back and again, some had a good experience, some didn't.
Yeah.
But I absolutely loved it. I love people. When I see someone doing a photo shoot prep or dieting really hard, I don't know what it is. I'm just hooked on it and I watch their story. YouTube videos, all that crack. I love watching preps. I just love it.
A massive amount of it is because this is like at the moment, by the time this episode rolls out, this will have been long past. But like at the moment, I'm in a dialogue with people on my Instagram. I posted a series of stories about the obesity crisis we experience now in the West. And it's very interesting to take some getting back from it. But I think it's one of those things, food and highly energy dense, so high calorie food that tastes really good, that's not very satiating, so you can eat loads of it. That's readily available all the time. So to put yourself in a condition where you're under a restricted amount of food you can eat per day, so you have to strategize a lot, and you're exercising quite hard and running a business is an extreme condition to put yourself in. And as you said, it probably was not the best to have all 5 guys doing it at the same time. But still, it's the challenge of saying, I'm going to put myself through this. I've had Dave Fustos on, very first pilot we did.
That was very good.
It's artificial hardship. I know I don't have to do this, but I have something to prove to myself first and foremost. So for you, that was the discipline of not indulging in an environment that's surrounded by indulgences for a set period of time. For me, it's I love the hard training prepping into a competition.
Yeah.
This is the thing. I made a post about it on Instagram. I love competing. Not because I think I can win, because I just fucking love testing myself.
Yeah.
I like how hard training gets. I like knowing that when I've signed it, so my next meet's in August, right? I know every session I have between now and then counts. You know what I mean? It's not. This is the problem when you've nothing to train for. It's like, if I miss a couple of bits and pieces, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But now I know every minute, every set, every rep, every increment, every minor improvement, every minor setback, this all counts towards this. Same with nutrition, same with sleep, same with managing stress. In much a similar way as I'm sure you had to with that. Now, what I have that I'm very lucky to have, and I think you'll relate to this greatly, you mentioned that all 5 you did at the same time, I'm surrounded by people who constantly push me forward and want to see me do better.
Yeah.
I've excellent training partners, I've excellent coaches, I train at an excellent club in abs powerlifting. I've got Vinny, I've got Mario, Evan, Sean. I'm surrounded by all these people who are working towards the set. We're running parallel to each other. We're all heading towards the same thing. So because all 5 you did, and you mentioned Aisling, your girlfriend, she was in it as well. And I think and naturally your co-workers, Martin, your business partner, Paddy, like you mentioned, you're these guys that are around you all the time. So it's almost like the mutual suffering meant that you could all shoulder the burden together.
That's it. It just got into this like do you have to get into photo shoot shape to be busy, or is it good for marketing? No, but you wouldn't believe. I had a feeling, and I knew the amount of messages we got going. Don't know you guys, you don't know me, but I'm fucking loving your journey. I love how you're all together in this. You did it all together, and we thrived off that. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, it was fucking crazy. But I just I don't know. I love the self discipline. My mindset is no matter how good I was doing, I could be doing better. No matter how lean I am on the day, I know I could be leaner. Do you get me? And like you said there, like I know every single action of every day. It sounds so airy-fairy, but every single action we were making on those days was either pulling us towards it or pushing us away from it. So that's what kept me going. I was like, I could skip cardio. I'm still going to be in great nick. I'm going to do cardio because I said I was going to do cardio.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm just driven kind of like that.
It must have been, but it honestly must have been, like, obviously you and Aisling live together. That must have been a great thing to have that support around you all the time. Because like
bittersweet.
But I've had that before, where I've had clients where like I've trained 2 people and one's trying to cut and one's trying to bulk.
Oh,
and it's a nightmare.
For sure.
So and because like naturally there's other like low energy, irritability, loss of libido, things like that. And these are the things people don't want to talk about, but they're the facts of these things. These things, like Shane talked about very openly. Him and Emma, his girlfriend, went through the prep together. So they're both on the same team. They're both singing from the same hymn sheet. Whereas I can imagine if one of them was just living a normal life and the other one was cutting, it'd be very, very tough.
Man, if I think me and Ashley said, we did it for 4.5 months. Like we were at the stage, like Shane said, I'll openly say it, like the most affection you're doing is like on the couch would be touching the hands.
Yeah.
Because I know what you're going through, you know what I'm going through, but we're sacrificing this for now.
Yeah.
And got to the stage where like I was in the sitting room one day and on the couch, all my colleagues were gone. And she's like, I just heard, did you eat my last banana?
Uh-oh.
And I was like, what? And I got all anxious and I was like, what the fuck? And you look back, you're like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
But it was so important because I do believe it's the same with coaches, Ian. When you have a client that's doing fat loss and they have a partner that's like, just eat that. It gets fucking messy as fuck. You have to be on the same buzz.
Support network is
huge.
Yeah, and like that, I think like we can. It's that, and I think that's the thing as well. I'd imagine like experiences like that brought like yourself and Aisling and Paddy and Martin like much closer together because you went through it.
It was amazing. It was we all like. And at the end of the day, we didn't really care how we looked. We just did it. Do you know what I'm saying? We didn't get obsessed with how we looked the next day. We were all bloated. We didn't give a fuck. Like we all flew to Nottingham. We did the photo shoot. We all went for dinner after. The plan was to go for drinks into a club. By 10:30, we're all on the couch watching telly, looking for Uber Eats. Next day, we went home. Done.
Yeah.
No, like, what am I doing? How do I look? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was amazing.
It's great that I love that you had each other. Actually, speaking of Paddy Quinn, so I didn't really know, even to this day, I don't really know Paddy that well. Just say hello to, but listening to his podcast, he's such a sweetheart, such a nice guy. But like, I think that I'd love to hear more of his experiences with that, because he talked openly about his experiences with, like, you know, he had a day where he'd only be eating a pear. That would be a meal. And then to put himself in that position where he's getting much more food focused, I'd imagine that was massive for him to be able to do that and come out the other side with a positive outlook.
The photo shoot, 100%. Now again, because in hindsight, if you don't know Paddy and you hear he was eating a pear one day, he was super fucking like just eating disorders, and there was Paddy, next level. And then from going from that to doing a photo shoot to get it, like Paddy would walk around out a bit of timber, not right now, but he wouldn't give a shit.
Yeah,
and he worked at Brian O'Hangass as well. So I think we've all come a long way from being such extremists. We've all been in, like, my Aisling would have been the same. She would have had a bit of a history of having more weight in her than she got in shape. So we've actually all been in the same kind of buzz. Yeah. But Paddy, like you said there, I'd love to get Paddy on again for my one, because that was huge for him. And now it's just like Paddy would walk around sometimes and he's not in shape. He doesn't give a fuck. And just that alone, not caring about how you look, that's powerful when you've gone from being fucking anorexic.
Yeah, because he knows he can now.
Exactly. It's I'll do it when I want.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It's kind of like taking the power away from the food.
Exactly. Which is very hard to do when you're in this, like, I describe it, Ian, as like a trance. I used to wake up and I'd walk down to the kitchen and there'd be fucking biscuits there. I'm like, for fuck's sake, man, it's 7:30 in the morning. I'm like, don't. Do you know what I mean? That's just it. And to you, you're probably like, that's fucking crazy. I know, but out straight, isn't it? Like that,
it's something that I can't resonate with the experience.
Yeah.
You know, but I want to understand more.
I know. It's when you say it out loud, like when I tell people I didn't eat for 5 days, they're like, what?
Yeah. Like, because I get the flip side of it. I get people saying to me, you do all that training to lift weight once.
There you go.
You know, so I get it. You don't have to get it. You don't have to understand. just to try and empathize that it's important to me. So
Yeah.
I understand, like I'm trying to empathize that was a struggle for you. And it's even like that with the transformations or photo shoot preps. That might not necessarily be a priority for me now or the type of person that I am, but there are people out there that want that. So rather than telling people they shouldn't want to do it, I think it's better to look at the people providing it, like yourselves, like STS, and say, is the way they're doing it in such a way that the person comes out in a better state than when they went in.
Yeah.
And by the sounds of things, like you mentioned, you guys put yourselves through a very grueling process, but you wouldn't necessarily inflict that on clients because a transformation to a different individual could be a completely different thing.
Yeah. It's a good question to have. And like hand on my heart, we have done, I think, 4 photo shoots with clients, and we have not had one situation where one male or female, I don't like how I look, I'm gotten real fat. Not once.
So they've all come out of it better than when they went in. They understood that you've prepped them adequately for the process.
Exactly. We prepped them and we didn't go near what we did. We didn't eat as little as we did. We didn't do as much training or cardio as we did. They went into that photo shoot all on healthy calories. There was no, we didn't deprive anyone like you do it yourself with a photo shoot. And it was a very different avenue. We went hell for leather to look a certain way and get ripped as a group, as staff, to show that this gym can walk the walk and talk the talk. My clients come to do photo shoots are the type of people that would be nervous to sending me over a before picture, and then they're rocking into the gym doing a photo shoot. Shapes and sizes, no one gives a fuck. It's about getting under the lights, getting the tan on and doing it. Yeah. That's our kind of photo shoot. That not once have I put someone in the position that we put ourselves in. So I can see people where like we said off air, if someone's thinking like, oh, they had about one or two of them a bad experience, so why are they doing them? Just completely different styles of photo shoots to the individual that we done and then our client one.
I suppose as well, it's probably a big thing that I suppose within the industry, like we can't, and anything, we can't know how an individual is going to respond to something. Like I've had it even in powerlifting preps. I've had people that have had the worst preps and the best competitions, and they loved it. They thought it was the best thing ever. And I've had people break down crying to me at competitions because they didn't meet their own expectations. Yeah. So you can never truly account for the emotional state or the mental state that people are going to have when they come out the other side of an experience, because we're all a little different. Yeah. So I suppose that's the crux of it. I actually do have one last question about the transformations or the photo shoots for you specifically. You said it's something you might do again down the road. Like you're open to it. You enjoyed the experience. Now that you've prepped a couple of people through it, you've seen the clients can achieve great things with a much milder version of what you did, or even just organizing their diet and training a little bit. Do you think you would take a little bit of a less extreme approach yourself now?
Yeah. So to answer that story short, what we did it on a specific date in Nottingham in a warehouse with 50 people, which is fucking stupid as fuck because there's only 5 of us and 45 other people. We were in a big warehouse, freezing cold. We had to, a certain time we had to get up and do it. So what I'd do now is I'd pick a date further down the line, have more calories, do less cardio and kind of drift into it as opposed to hell for leather, let's go for it now. Yeah. But at the end of the day, like you said there, bud, I love leaving Fly Fit feeling fucking really like, wow, that was a good session. So my training, I think, will always be intense. Do you know what I mean? I love, like the other day, you obviously don't work anymore. Text Ashley saying I'm after getting sick in the toilet because I was doing a slow bike sprints and my head went anyway. But I think that's in me as well. I just love training hard. But like you said there, I will never ever go as extreme as I did because we did just 16 weeks in. Now I do say 24, 28 weeks and just kind of and cruise into it. 100%.
And maybe not with all the staff.
No, that's just that's a real. To think back, like I just remember Martin texting me going, man, he goes, man, I know it's 2 weeks before the prep, I know, or before the shoot, I know you're not really in the headspace, but you have to get your shit together when you come back. Because Martin ate a bit more food than I did. I kind of hibernated. I wasn't seen around. I wasn't like really doing things that people are like, yeah, you're not in the office anymore. I was like, no, I'm just tipping away, but I'm weird, man. I'm like, I think that extremism is in me from my younger days. So when I was restricting and all that stuff back then, I think I kind of brought that to the prep. Like I overdid the cardio, I overdid the training, I underate what I should. Like I probably underate more, but definitely I wouldn't be going as intense this time.
I think some of it's going to be personality though, because you're like you can see you're a hyper ambitious, hyper driven person. Like you run your own business and you're like you're not even 40. You know what I mean? Like it's a very distinctive type of person that pushes towards something that aggressively. You know, so, and don't get me wrong, I know when you peek behind the curtain, every entrepreneurial type or business owner has had a bunch of struggles. And I know, like, you know, it's like the duck on the water, everything looks serene, and then you see their feet going like crazy. I think that's true for everyone, but it's that I think part of it is you're just naturally drawn to
challenge,
harder, more intense. I want to push myself. I want to see where my breaking point is. I totally feel you on that one. You know what I mean? Like, I have people that when we load it, like I've lifters that when they compete, I won't tell them what we're loading on the bar, because if they hear the weight, they'll get afraid. When I hear it's a bigger weight, I get more excited because I'm going to be challenged more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we in powerlifting, just briefly, we get 9 attempts. So we get 3 squat attempts, 3 bench attempts, 3 deadlift attempts. Like, I've missed a good few lifts, particularly third attempts, because I like to just at the end whip my fucking dick out and just try. Fucking have a Hail Mary, like, you know, because I'm not going to get upset if I don't get it. Some people do. Some people don't like missing a competition. I'm just there to have a fucking good time. I'm of the opinion of this, right? And this is a conversation I've had with a few people. So you have a competition or a photo shoot prep, right? And let's just say the day didn't go the way you wanted to, right? The 3 months, 6 months, however long you had before that to prep, regardless if you had the day or not that you wanted, you still did all the reps, you still did all the sets, you still showed up, you still did the work. So all that work, all those memories, all those ups and downs and the training partners, the meals, the sleep, all the things you prioritize, you've still got all that. That all still happened. Maybe you couldn't put it together quite right on the day. Maybe you missed a couple of steps, and you can learn from that, but you still banked all this amazing experience you wouldn't have had otherwise. And I think that's, like I mentioned previously, the benefit of having good people around you, having people you can talk to and lean on. And that actually ties nicely into what I want to talk to you about next.
Can I just, before we go into that, I completely agree with you. The day was fucking shit. I hated everything about the day. I hated how I woke up, I was bloated from all the anxiety from the night before. I didn't sleep well. I was puffy. I didn't feel good, but I didn't give a shit because I did it. I did the prep. I did the reps. I did every day that I said I was going to do. The day, like, I just couldn't agree more with it. Yeah. The day, the lifts, didn't make it, don't care. I fucking did exactly what I said I was going to do. And that, to me, means a lot more than how I look or how I lift on a certain day.
100%. Sure. And you know what I will say for you? This is how I know you were so dedicated, because every time I was on a morning shift in FlyFit, there was Stephen Tierney on that same cross trainer, the Tierney cross trainer. Like, you were really, really dialed in. So like, and absolutely, like, honestly, regardless of what people want to think about photo shoots or preps or bodybuilding in general, whatever, it's a serious amount of discipline. It's a massive amount of discipline. Yeah. So respect for that, absolutely. But we've touched on it a couple of times throughout the podcast. You mentioned Larry Doyle, you mentioned Brian, you've mentioned the importance of having someone to coach you or guide you. And then I know you've had a very good working relationship with Phil Graham when it comes to your business. And I really, like, it's something Ben and I have talked about many times on the podcast, the importance of mentors and people that surround you. So like, I really want to touch off some of your experiences with mentors, particularly Phil, just because I know Ben worked with him as well. Like, what are some of the lessons that really like stick out to you from everyone you've worked with, whether it's Brian, Larry, Graham, or even your co-workers? I know Martin is an integral part of the STS business. Like, what are some things you've really learned from these people that you think would be valuable for the listeners to know?
They take all the, like, they tell you what you need to hear. Do you know what I mean? Like, you think you're Johnny Big Bollocks, then you go present your business model to Phil Graham, and respectfully, like, he'll tear it apart. And like, we're doing great. You're doing this wrong. I do believe in order to get somewhere in life, whether it's training or business wise or anything like that, go to someone that's done it 10 times better than you and learn from them. So me and Martin have gone through phases of having no business mentor, and then COVID happened. So in COVID, we went down to 38 clients. We had no money in the bank account. We were working with Phil Graham, and we went to leave Phil. And Phil was like, "Boys, if you leave me, you're going to go backwards." And we were like, "No, we have to leave." Like, so Phil, again, we would never think like this, because you get so caught up in business that me and Martin are just bashing heads, and it's just noise. We're arguing, but then you have a middleman there who's done it fucking 50 times better, and you go to him. So during COVID, when everyone else was closing and the fucking world was burning down, we blew up, and we had our highest financial months because we had someone there that's done it. But I do believe, whether it's to get in the best shape you want to be in, get someone who's done it. To get to make the amount of money you want to make, and for your business to grow, get someone who's done it. We've gone through phases of no coach, no mentor, and we always go back to getting someone. Do you know what I mean? I don't believe that. I believe everyone can do really well, but if you're on your own, in my opinion, you'll have a ceiling. And if you don't want a ceiling, go to someone that's done it. I couldn't recommend it enough. In regards to Phil, it's just been decisions I know I've had to make, but I wouldn't do it. And then I go to Phil, and he'd be like, "Have you done that yet?" And I told you on the way down that I had to let one of my mates' positions redundant. I wouldn't have done that without being told, "You're being too emotional."
He removed the emotional, presented the facts
immediately, which is tough to do. Obviously, really the toughest thing I've had to do, and we've had to do. But when it comes to this kind of stuff, if we don't have people there looking at our best interest, we'll kind of just keep making these mistakes as businessmen. But when you have someone there that's done it, saying you're being too emotional, go and do it. You have to do it. You do it. Do you know what I mean? And you're not doing what they say. You know it's the right thing. I just want reassurance.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you need somebody who has your best interests at heart, but it's to agree that the best interests in this particular case was the health of your business.
Exactly.
And sometimes that means making decisions that you might not want to make emotionally or personally, but we do have to make those decisions sometimes in business, and it is good to have those people there. I think the same thing can be said for coaches and people helping you with your nutrition. Sometimes you need someone to step in and say, okay, you need to stop fucking just training this. I need to do this thing that you don't fucking like because you need more of it. I encounter it all the time with powerlifters and cardio. Like, you need to do more fucking cardio because you can't just fucking go and sit in the gym, do 3 sets, fucking 5 on squats and sit for 10 minutes between your sets. You need to get up. I don't care if it's walking on a treadmill, cycling on a bike, either elevate your heart rate, hold it here for a while because we want you to live past 60. You know? Yeah. So sometimes it is making people do the things they don't want to do for their long-term benefit. And like we talked about on the way down, ultimately the hard decisions might be the best thing to happen to certain people. It might be the thing somebody needed to hear. And it's part of our job as coaches, and the people who work with us need to sometimes give us the hard truth without the sugarcoating. Yeah. And in the end, we might ultimately say, you know what, Phil, thanks very much. That was the right thing to do.
Like, when we go back to my journey, or whatever you want to call it, I hate fucking saying the word journey, but me getting sacked by the boys in the old gym was the best thing that happened to me. And I sat there in tears, and they said to me, you'll thank us for this. And I was like, the fucking neck you saying I'll thank you for it. And now I'm like, thank you so much, because it was the best thing that happened. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Who knows where you would have ended up?
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it would have been pretty bad. Like, and then in regards to the business, we went to Phil with all these issues, and he was like, I think you should close a unit. And we're like, no. He's like, why? I was like, because I'm there 10 years. He goes, like, listen to yourself. Exactly. It's just emotion.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
The sunk cost fallacy, I think.
Yeah. So that's it. So the only reason I don't want to close the gym is because I'm there 10 years. Take the fucking emotion out of it and do what's best for the gym. And then you don't want to make that position redundant. Why? Because what about him and her? What about your business? And that's just unfortunate. But I do believe as well, with these people around you, I know for a fact I will grow with these difficult conversations and these hard things I have to do.
Yeah.
Because you know what I mean? Because it's just, you're just tiptoeing around stuff, and you're told to do 2 big things you don't want to do. So you start doing all this stupid shit around it to try and fix it. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to do what you don't want to do. Yeah. And one more thing you said there, I believe the things we hate doing are the things we need to do the most.
Absolutely.
You're powerlifters. I hate cardio. You fucking probably have to do it to keep a few years on the earth.
Yeah.
You know?
So that was, even for me, that was a big eye opener. I was like, I have to fucking, like, right, leaving FlyFit was a thing for me.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
That was on the cards for a while. I kind of knew I had outgrown
That's
the role.
huge. Yeah.
And it was putting it off until the environment became unlivable for me. And I had, as a coach, I outgrew it by a country mile. And what it was basically holding back the other parts of my career that I wanted to explore more, specifically like strength and powerlifting coaching, working with more people in person and online. It was all these hours I was pushing into this commercial gym that I now have back, and it's actually, it could not have gone better. You know what I mean? And it was just taking that leap.
It's funny you say that. I don't know when I met you, right? I don't know how I started chatting to you, but I was saying to Aisling, I saw your Instagram, I was like, that fucking cunt is very smart, it's very intelligent. And I go, he's always over there on FlyFit. And I was saying to Aisling, you can even, she'll admit it, I was like, if I was him, I'd go online. He's doing all these hours, because every time I saw you were in there, and I was like, in my head, I was like, he needs to fucking branch out and do other things. And then ultimately it happened. So it's just crazy how even I can see that not it was wasted hours, but I was like, this fella can...
Well, do you know what? I will say this, because I'll always speak very positively of my experience with FlyFit. Like, as a company, they gave me lots of opportunities. I think they're a really progressive gym in this, and I've no reason to speak highly of them anymore. Like, so this is all like genuine. They do genuinely try to upscale their trainers, and I think I took advantage of so much of these things. I just outscaled what the company could offer me there and then,
massively,
outside of becoming a gym manager, for example.
Yeah,
and it's my aspirations far exceeded the roles that existed in the company at the time.
Yeah.
So like I will always speak highly to particularly like Kev McCarthy. He's a PT development coach there. So his job is literally to recruit people in and then make sure there's constant upward trajectory on the training. Like I'm sure you know AOK Nutrition, Aisling, who does her own podcast here. She has run workshops in flight with like Zoom calls where she teaches the coaches about like female cycle, fertility, so they understand more about how these things could impact performance or weight gain, weight loss of their clients, performance in the gym. And I think that's so vital that education exists, because as I'm sure you know yourself, most PT courses do not cover nearly enough to what we need to know to genuinely work with people. So it's the tip of the iceberg, and then you really have to work once you get in. So the fitness industry in and of itself is funny like that, you know, but like I really do commend them for their constant attempts to try and make the industry better.
Yeah, in regards to the fitness industry and education, I sat here with Larry, I've talked to you about it, I've talked to Dan about it, I've talked to fucking everyone about it, that what you're taught in the course, like imagine like you're told to advertise, get leaflets and get business cards. Do you know what I mean? There's no business modules, there's no how to make money, there's no how to get clients. Like we did a course, I'm not even going to plug it because it's gone now, it was too much work. Me and Martin thought we were fucking the jack of all trades. We did a training academy, and we had like workshops, but like how to get clients, how to keep clients and stuff like that. So if you're a coach that is in these courses, I'm not going to name the courses obviously, but it can be very much like, there's your qualification, all the best.
Yeah,
which is kind of scary, because you're gonna stay here while the fucking rest evolve. Like,
well, do you know what it is? I've been on the other side. I've tutored in some of these courses, and it's acknowledged by most of the courses that so they have to teach a certain material, for people to qualify.
Gotcha.
And I think it's a case of they realize that this is probably not enough, but it's like a case of they are going to give you the minimum you need to participate. And then it's up to you to become something past that. And I think that's why we see such a like, you know yourself, it's a massive turnover of coaches. I think if you make it past your third year, you're in it.
90%, Ian, of PTs are gone within 12 months. That's just a fact. 90% of people. So only 10% actually make it past, I think, 12 to 18 months.
How do you encounter that then? Have you had that in your studio, where people come in and then fall off?
Yeah. Oh, we've had people coming in, rent us, and then they're fucking gone within a few months, because they have no plan of action. They think it's just cash in hand. And then you see this whole like glorified online coaching, work from where you want, all this kind of crack, which is, it's sad. Like it is sad, but my guys in there now are just like, they are kind of lucky they've had me and Martin, because we've taught them every single thing about, we work with Phil Graham. Phil Graham teaches us, we teach the staff. They're not gonna go wrong. We wouldn't see them go wrong. Do you know what I mean?
The high tide raises all ships.
There you go. Do you know what I mean? But no, it is. It's worrying, because you get your qualification and you're all happy and you're buzzing. You put your Instagram photo up. Then what?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? We spoke about it, like clients or coaches more concerned about a fancy check-in sheet or a business card or their Instagram, and do you have any personal skills? Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
And I think if I was to give advice to any trainers or aspiring trainers, is forget about online. Spend your first 2 years just building up those receipts, those referrals, people that say they were sound, they helped me. Don't worry about being the best or using the biggest words or having the fanciest Instagram. Just actually help people.
Yeah.
Those people will tell people. Like STS has a phenomenal reputation in the swords and surrounding North County Dublin, because you've helped so many people.
Yeah.
Do you know, it's the biggest one in Dublin, I'd say. That isn't like, you're not specifically a CrossFit gym, you're not specifically like a powerlifting gym, you're not a bodybuilding gym, you're just you're a group of people that help your Gen Pop get in really good shape. And that's that can be a tough market to retain. And you said it yourself, you've got some people that have been there since almost day one. So you've obviously done something correct.
Yeah.
You know? So I think that's a massive valuable thing. Get people in and get them a result. Worry less about how cool you look or how the smart things you say, and actually help the person that's in front of you.
Like, respectfully, like, no one gives a bollocks how smart you are as a coach. I see people in PhD and this, that, and the other. No one gives a shit. Like, can you help this person? Like, I remember when I was working in the gym, I think I worked for about 2 years for free. I did PT for free. But you know how much incidents, experience, ups, downs I had to deal with? Do you know what I mean? A volume of people having, like, go through all the fucking hardships, the problems, the ups, the downs, the hard clients, the tough clients, the fat loss, the muscle gain, the fitness. If you do that continuously over time, your ammunition is through the roof when you have clients. But if you come in just looking for a quick fix, or like, again, like you said, I would ignore online, but just go in and just sit around on the floor. And just a big piece of advice is just be yourself. Because there's no act here with us. We genuinely want to help people. We all, I think it's because collectively we've all been in pretty shit shape mentally and physically, so we've all been there. So when we see someone coming in shaking at the door, and they're like, I get the amount of text we got in, I drove up, but I drove off and too anxious, this kind of stuff. And then they come in the door and they see it and they're like, oh, I believe, like, I know again it sounds so cringy, but we do honestly change people's lives for the better all the time. And you get a good reputation like that, you're going to be the place to go to. Mm-hmm. And we are, thankfully, touch wood and all that crack, we are the place to go to at the moment that is making people less anxious, wrecks, happier themselves. Nothing to do with body image or getting them ripped, just getting them fucking happy and getting them exercising.
And this is a big thing. So this is one thing, this is like a little outside of the gym, but contextual story about you. So just you and I have gone on a couple of strolls and had a bit of a chat. It's usually me like blah, 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 and Stephen just has to stand there and listen to me rant on. But so many people around Swords are, all right, Steve-o, good man, Stephen. Mm-hmm. People know you. Mm-hmm. And that speaks way more to me than if somebody said, yeah, Stephen Tierney helped me squat 200 kilos. It's like, no, people think Stephen Tierney sound. So that means you took the time, you listened to what they had to say, they felt heard, or you developed a good enough rapport with them that they will say Stephen Tierney's a good guy. Because at the end of the day, people might come into the gym and stay. People might do it for 2 years and forget about it. You know, they might have kids, they might change job roles, whatever it might be. They might take up running instead, whatever it might be. But they'll look back and go, did Tierney get me in the best shape of my life, but he was a prick?
Yeah.
They're the people going to go, yeah, he was a prick. He knows what he's doing, but he's a prick.
Yeah, yeah.
Or they might come in and, like you said, they might not come out ripped and shredded, but they might feel like I can walk into any gym, a bend on, a fly fit, anywhere in the world. When I'm on holidays now, I can go down to the hotel gym and I can train because I did some training with Stephen Tierney at STS. Stephen Tierney sound. And I think that is the biggest skill you can learn. No one has ever gotten the most clients or helped the most people because they have a PhD or a BSc or an MSc. It's because they were there for those people. Yeah. And I think that's a really, really good thing. Yeah. I think you guys do that really well.
I appreciate that. I think it is, do you know what it is? I think I'm absolutely obsessed with customer service. I don't know why. I don't know where it comes from. Maybe I was younger and I got a bad rap somewhere, or just manners or something like that. But everything in our gym is like 5-star. Everything, like you said to me before, it's always clean. The place is immaculate. The clients, they greet at the door. I don't know what it is. I think it's common sense, really, isn't it though? Like, it's just be a good person, be nice, and ask and try and help people.
I think it's because you've been there. I think it's because you've been the guy who's had the anxiety to go to the gym. Because I know you spoke a little bit I think it was on your story you spoke about that even to this day, if you walk into a new gym, you can be a bit out of sorts.
For sure. I'm an anxious person. I'm massively, and that's like, admittedly. Like, I went to Westside Ian about 5 or 6 months ago. I only joined, man, and I cruised up, music on, buzzing. I'm in Finglas, fucking check out this gym. Walked in, man, head down. I was like, I just walked on the treadmill for 20 minutes, and I was like, it's still in me. So I completely get when we see someone walking in rattles, shaking, I'm like, come here, I'm with you. Like, I get it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, this is actually a big, so Abs has a reputation for being like really intimidating.
I've heard this. Walk in. Yeah. But I've seen you answer questions saying that's not the case. Is that correct?
It's because they're powerlifters. They're just big mongs all like fucking squatting.
Yeah. But they probably mean well. It's a very good name.
They're all really good guys.
Yeah.
They're just like, I always make this joke about powerlifting versus CrossFit. Powerlifting's for the people whose parents didn't love them enough, and CrossFit is for the people who had, you know, the 2-parent home and the nice house and the 2 cars.
I actually associate that as well. Yeah,
it's a funny little joke. But powerlifters are, some of them are just socially inept, but they're good guys.
Yeah.
So if I see someone walk in the door, doesn't matter if I'm training or whatever, I'll walk over and go, hey, how are you doing? I'm Ian, I'm one of the coaches here. What can I do for you? Yeah. Because it's just that, give them that little hand out of the fucking water where they're like, what the fuck have I just walked into? Yeah. Just saying hello to somebody. And I completely agree. Like, having that, somebody's at the door, hey, how are you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Makes such a massive, because now people feel welcome. Because there's one thing, and everyone listening has had this experience. You've walked into a shop, or you've walked into a barber's, you've walked in somewhere, and you were like ignored for 2 minutes.
Yep. I hate that.
And you're
so
almost
much,
like,
man.
I'm just going to fuck them out of here.
Yeah.
And it would, if you walk in to go, just be with you in 2 minutes, bud. You're like, okay, they know I'm here. Yeah. They've acknowledged my existence. That I actually learned that. I used to work in Specsavers years ago. Whole other world, don't worry about it. But that was a big thing that was put to us. There was a guy there, he was really into sales and marketing. His name was Jason. If I ever meet that man again, he helped me out of understanding these things a lot. He's like, fucking acknowledge everyone the moment they walk in. They better not be standing there more than 30 seconds. Go say, "How you doing? I'll be with you in just 2 minutes. I'm just with somebody else at the moment."
Yeah.
Make them feel heard. Let them just browse the frames and I'll be right with you.
Yeah, because think of how nervous they are, and then bang, like you said, we've all been there, standing around for like a spare tip for 2 minutes, and it gets more awkward, and there's someone there that's intentionally just ignoring you.
Yes.
It just would not happen in our place. It just wouldn't happen. And to this day, again, touch wood, I don't believe, I'm gonna fucking blow this now, but I don't think we just don't get the complaints, obviously, about, like, you could talk about price increase and someone was late, all that crap, but just when it comes to customer service, everything has to be 10 out of 10. I was on a podcast there as a guest with Kieran O'Connor, and he said to me, I was talking to him about customer service and the passion for it. He's like, "Man, you would run an amazing restaurant." And I was like, "Why?" He's like, "Because with Michelin stars," he's like, "everything to a T, from the toilets to the staff to the service." I just think people remember how you made them feel.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like you said there, if you walk in and you're nervous as fucking, you have Paddy or someone, "Hey, how are you?" Automatically it's done, and they're going to remember that, because everywhere they're with us for a reason, because everywhere else didn't work. So as soon as they come in, arms around them, and the rest is history.
Yeah, I 100 just briefly shout out to Kieran O'Connor and North Fingal Dublin.
Yeah, man.
Those oats are cracking.
Man, they're not cracking. They're like crack. They're unbelievable.
Yeah, and I think just not even as a conversation, I think we're lucky with that around stores. There's some really good places to eat, some very health conscious people. Like you've got, like, I know I've seen you down in Green Straw a couple of times. You've got the soul food also around in Loft. You've got, like, it's brilliant like that. This is the industry. I think more and more people are getting more health aware with their food. I think they're getting more, like, I'm sure it's as inconvenient as it is for people. I'm sure you've noticed it if you've trained in a commercial gym. So much more like 16-year-olds in now, all training in little packs at the cable machines. Yeah. But isn't it great that they're in the gym?
Man, 100%. And I was there, I'm not going to mention who it was. They're giving out about them. And I said, "Was that not you when you were 16? Was that not you standing around on your phone with 3 lads or 3 or 4 girls? It was you." And, like, I would much rather, like, Ashling has a son that's 13. And he's playing football, and he is obsessed with playing football. And I said to her, that could have gone the other way. Easily gone the other way. And the fact he's playing football and these lads are in the gym and not out fucking starting fights, being strangled by you, chasing young ones. Do you know what I mean? But no, 100%, man. Like, let them annoy people, let them do their form wrong. I think it's fucking deadly.
Yeah, because I make this point to people whenever they mention these things. I would, as a coach, as somebody who's in this space and I want fucking everybody to lift. I want everybody in. Like, I say this to everyone should powerlift. Not because I think powerlifting is the best thing ever, because I think it's cool just for at least a brief period of your time, like a year, just focus on being a strong motherfucker, because it feels good to be strong. Yeah. Like, I love the fact that, like, nothing in my house is too heavy. You know what I mean? Like, I can lift everything because I can lift all this other crap. But anyway, this is a big thing I say to people. No matter how inconvenient it is, I would much rather try to convince somebody to train with a bit of structure instead of, like, maxing out on the cable machines or walking on a treadmill. That's a much easier conversation than trying to get somebody from the couch to the gym.
Yeah.
So it's great that they're there. So go in, fuck things up. Don't worry about doing it wrong. You've already that's 90% of the battle is just being in the place. Once you're there, we can fix things later. Yeah. But it's the fact that you're already aware that I should probably exercise.
Yeah.
That's already the biggest battle. But speaking of the fitness industry, I know one thing we really wanted to touch off is you're somebody who obviously very hyper aware that, like, for example, it's no debatable fact that having leaner body mass, carrying not excessive amounts of body fat is healthier.
Yeah, fucking right.
Absolutely. But there has been this big, massive pushback of, like, the body acceptance side of fitness and training, or even just in society, where we've now gotten to the point where if you're somebody who's a fit enthusiast, you're a fat shamer, or you've fat phobia. And I know this is something that you and I have talked a little bit about, but I wanted to get you to elaborate your thoughts. What do you think is spawning this movement, and what do you think this pushback is about?
In regards to fit shaming, I believe fit shaming, I think it all stems from insecurities. I think if someone is, I'm not going to start saying someone's fat, someone's overweight, unhealthy, unfit, put it this way, and this is my story. When I was my heaviest, my unhealthiest, when I had breasts as a male, I was my most unhappiest and angriest. And I'd see people, say Men's Health magazine, or I'd see people in shape. I'd be like, the fucking state of them, look at the state of them, starve themselves. It was completely from a insecure standpoint. So when I see people getting in shape now, and I see people bashing people getting in shape, I do believe it's because they probably can't do it. They're not arse doing it. They're too lazy to do it. So do you know what? I'm going to slag them and make myself feel better about it. And hopefully my friends will pick up on it, and I'll get a bit of buzz off it. I think it's completely down to insecurities. Because again, just from personally speaking, that was me. When I see people with abs and on the beach and all, I'm like, look at the fucking state of them. I fucking wish I looked like that. And not wish I looked like that in an obsessive way, but I know after getting abs at one stage, after being leaner, being fitter, being stronger, I was so much happier myself. You know, what about you?
Yeah, I can see the message in there. Like, I remember a very distinct memory of same thing, being on the beach when I was a bit younger. I was maybe like 17, 18, and there was one dude and he was fucking jacked to bits. And I didn't experience this envy, but I had this massive admiration. I was like, that dude looks good. And everybody else knew he fucking looked good.
Head turner.
But I could see, like, you know, like the older dudes who were like still wearing their t-shirt, and you could see them looking at him.
Bastard.
Yeah, there's that element of it, like, you know. And don't get me wrong, it's easy to kind of say, oh yeah, well, you know, I fucking like eating what I want and I'm not going to spend hours in the gym. It's like, that's okay. But it's that what that person has triggers that degree of insecurity in you, because you know you could be more than you are currently. And I think that's a massive thing of what it is. It's a lot of what like self-consciousness is when something comes in life that holds up a mirror and says, if you tried, you could be that.
Yeah.
And that's
a reminder.
That's tough on people.
Good point. Yeah,
it's really, really tough.
100%. No, I think I don't know. It's actually come out of nowhere, hasn't it?
I think
Fit
it's
shaming,
creeped in.
Yeah,
over the last
specifically. But listen, I'd rather a client or a friend that's looking to get leaner and get stronger and get fitter and look better than that's just getting fatter. Do you know what I mean? Because health comes into it at some stage.
For sure.
Do you know what I'm saying? So if you're someone that's really unhealthy, that's might be vulnerable to all these diseases, that has excess body fat, that's afraid of, or not afraid, that goes up the stairs and is out of breath, you should be worrying about yourself and not about someone else that's trying to do better. Do you know what I mean? And again, I see like on Instagram these images and pictures and there's these comments about this is unhealthy. No, what's unhealthy is you fucking sitting on your hole doing nothing about it. Let's be honest. Yeah.
And I think it's like, as you mentioned, you've somebody who's been there, you've let yourself get into it, and you saw it's a series of decisions, as you said, take out like 5 times a week, sitting in and playing the computer games, not like training into it like a really unsustainable state and then dropping off completely, eating rings around yourself, raiding the shop when it
only
came
allowed
home.
to play half football match. Do you know what I mean? Unfit as fuck.
So
smoker.
You realize that's the point when it's not to point fingers at people that are overweight or obese or whatever, because frankly, most of them probably do want to change. There's probably a whole lot of other factors going on there besides these negative habits they may have that are contributing to it. But it's recognizing that, practically speaking, you have made a series of decisions that have led you to look this way. And rather than saying, yeah, I'm going to own this and do something about it, you're externalizing and say, well, you make me feel like shit, so you're
the mirror.
Yeah.
It's sure, we're in an obesity like crisis at the moment.
Absolutely.
And then like I think it was 60% of, was it something like that? 60% is Irish.
They're actually, I can't remember the exact statistic, but they're reckoning by 2050 the majority of the Western world is going to be obese.
And then we have people that are complaining about people actually getting in shape. Do you know what I mean? When does it end?
Yeah,
when does sense prevail? Like,
to play devil's advocate on this one, I suppose you could say it's like it's pushing the dial in either direction, as I mentioned previously with like bodybuilding, powerlifting, or aesthetics and performance. It's a balance. You can be responsible with the way you eat and your activity levels, and probably not let yourself stem into such unhealthy ranges of body fat that you're becoming a risk to yourself, but also, like, you know, you could potentially be taking healthcare resources from people who are not doing this to themselves.
Yeah.
But I think it's also understanding that most of these people didn't make this didn't make this choice. It's usually their upbringing, their education around food, the people around them. And for some people, it's genuinely it's a response to the dopamine effect of food. They have a much greater dopamine response than say you or I, where they are. Their body is like pushing them to overeat almost.
Yeah.
So it's being aware of that and then being aware of what we can do to help people. But at the same time, there probably are people who, like, we know we've heard your stories on Lean In, for yourself, for Paddy, for some of the others, that like you can take dieting and training to an extreme that is not really that good either.
Yeah.
So it's two extreme ends of the bell curve. And we want to meet somewhere in the middle where you're a fit, capable and happy individual who doesn't have to obsess about food.
But not obsessed, yeah.
But is responsible with what they do. You know what I mean? And I think it's that. So the best thing we can probably do as professionals is be somebody who welcomes everyone and says, we want to help you achieve whatever it is you want to achieve in a manner that serves you, that we meet them where they are now, not where we think they should be. So, you know, if they're already at step 3 or 4, great. Let's get on to step 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah.
But if you're just stuck at step 1, you don't know where to start, you don't know what to do, we're meant to meet that person there and just give them, the minimum effective dose, the littlest amount they can do to make a little bit of change and help them from there.
Yeah, and like you said, that because it's the people that are kind of they are shaming it, that they look at the person that's in really good shape and they're like, fuck me, that's so much shit I have to do there. When they all we have to do here is maybe get out for a walk.
Yeah.
That's the first step. Let's try the gym. That's the second step. Let's try the three gyms this week. Do you know what I mean? And eventually you will get there. But for anyone listening that isn't that, if they do listen and that's in that position, that I did a post today about people, and Dan mentioned it really, really well before. It's the people don't like they want the results like yesterday.
Yeah.
It's the buy-in. Do you know what I mean? And it takes a while, but I have people that are like, oh, fucking so much work to do. That fella I put a picture of today, he was like, oh man, I'm fucking a million miles away. And I was like, listen, one day at a time, 1 week at a time. Next thing, 8 weeks in, 8 kilos. He's like, I'm happier. And where did that start from? A breakup. Yeah. And here we are today. And he said he was avoiding it, putting it off for ages. I was really embarrassed to go down to, he was an old client, got ripped before, back in the day, went back on, got a bad relationship, got out of shape, and now he's back. But it's these people just concentrate on putting one foot in front of the other, and that's a start. But I do, again, like you said, if you want to play devil's advocate, you can understand it because we don't know how they feel.
Yeah.
But there has to be a fine line between they're fucking obsessed, it's unhealthy, and they're just actually looking after themselves this time a bit better than the other people.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think that's it. And it's the best way we can get there is by having open dialogue like this. It's to, like, similarly to how you've had to do with Phil Graham, remove the emotion. Let's look at practicality, and here's what we can do for you, how we can help you if you're somebody that wants to help.
And that's another conversation. But when, because if as coaches, I will do my utmost to help anyone, and I fucking love it. And that's why we're coaches, because I'm very much not addicted to helping people, but I love seeing people make progress. But there comes a time where I'm sure you've had it, people pay money, they sign up, I'm not making progress. You're like, well, have you done anything I've advised really? They're like, oh, kind of. As soon as someone says kind of to me, that's a flat out no.
That's it's the expression of don't expect the results you don't have from the work you didn't do.
Yeah.
And it's so true.
Yeah.
And like that, I think we're all guilty of it to a degree, because we live in a day and age of instant gratification. If I want something now, I can order it on Amazon, have it tomorrow. But a physique takes time.
Yeah. It's the one thing, Ian, that you cannot. Like you made a very good point. We went on a walk. Horny, porn, hungry, Uber Eats, bored, PlayStation, a physique, months and months and months and months of work. Bar. Now again, you can talk about PEDs and shit like that, but they'll help. But you still have to fucking train.
Still don't make you get up and go to the gym.
100%. And I haven't taken them back in the day, like, but non-educated, like, you still have to fucking work your arse off. They make you look better, but you still have to train. You don't inject and magically wake up jacked.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And I think that's the biggest thing. It's if you are somebody that understands, like you mentioned, it's 1 foot in front of the other day by day by day. So I would usually say to people, try focus less on the result, focus more on the process. Did I tick this box today? Did I manage this today? See if you can, if you've 10 boxes to tick: sleep, steps, training, food prep, water intake, whatever these things are to you, right? If you can tick most of those boxes every day for a week, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 16 weeks, 20 weeks, there is no way you won't see improvements. Now, what that vision or what that version of you is yet to be seen, because there might be more work to do with some people than others. And a lot of it can be genetic, a lot of it can be medical predispositions. Like, there's so many other factors, but you will absolutely be significantly improved physically and mentally, and how you see yourself, how you move, if you do this process from week 1 to week 20. And like we said before, having somebody in your corner, like a coach, like a mentor, like a supportive partner, supportive family, is massive for that process. Yeah. And like, I think it's one of the most understated things. As much as it, practically it might be eat less, move more, it's all these other extrinsic factors that really tie into it. Like, as I mentioned, the support network. And of course, you've your very important, most important lady in your life, Bella.
Shout out. If you're listening, Bella.
Bella Stevens, Tierney's dog, who's become number one
my
Instagram
child.
Instagram content.
Yeah, man.
I watch Stephen Tierney's stories for the dog.
That's how me and Ian actually became close, because it's the love for dogs, isn't it?
100%, man. Yeah. But like that's just a bit of levity, because it's a heavy topic, and I know I think body composition, weight is such a hard topic nowadays, as you said. Even we've got this pushback from society where people are trying to normalize obesity. And I think in the sense that we shouldn't judge people for some things that are out of their hands, that's fine. But let's not try trick ourselves into thinking that these people are going to live long, prosperous lives, because they won't.
Man,
very unlikely.
100%. But and like I said, we're very we're coaches, we're good coaches, we'll tell people what they need to hear, but I'll never sit here and be like, oh no, it's okay to be more below obese, because at the end of the day, like I said, if it's body composition, performance, what's going to keep you alive is your health. And if you're high levels of body fat and vulnerable to all that kind of crack, it's not going to fucking be very pretty down the line. Again, it's a tough one, because how do you just have to say how it is. Like that, that's really it, isn't it? Like, and
it's understanding, I think, that when you're told these things by coaches like ourselves, or just your friends and family, your partner, they're not saying it to hurt you as much as it hurts. They're saying it because they want you to be around. They want to see you do better. And I think it's that, as much as people fear having that mirror held up and looking at themselves, it's understanding that as much as uncomfortable as to hear, that is who you could be if you were willing to make the change. It's not saying the change is going to be easy, but it have to be, like you said, take that first step. And it might be coming in for a chat with yourself or Paddy or Martin.
Like I said, people outside shitting themselves to come in.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I had a transformation there a few months ago. A fella I put up, and when I started out with him, we didn't talk about body comp, we didn't talk about abs, we didn't talk about this. I said, bud, we want to get you in a place where we actually keep you on this earth a few years. And he's I think you might have seen it, he's lost fucking tons of weight. I don't actually give a fuck about like muscle development or actually getting the body fat down to see striations. I want this fella on a treadmill and fly fit doing a 5K. I want this fella doing his walks. And he was like, man, I feel so much better. And the rest will just be a byproduct of it. But like health is fucking first and foremost with everyone.
Yeah. And when even at that, when I talk about that, like we hold up the mirror, I think that's something that I think you've got locked down. I think that's something you do with yourself every now and again. You look and say, what could I be if I tried that a little bit harder? How much, like, I can take this up just that one more level. You did it when you moved into the new unit. You were obviously working, like you're making the tough decisions under the guidance of Phil Graham, like closing the other unit. Like, I think it's being willing to look more closely at what you could be.
Yeah.
And I would encourage everybody listening to do that. So that could be texting you guys for a consultation or just coming in for a chat. It could be saying, you know what, I am going to prep for powerlifting. I am going to try the transformation. It's take the first step and start the ball rolling.
I think, I said on a caption yesterday, I think we are all capable of doing so much more and we haven't even tapped into it yet.
Yeah.
That's why me and Martin are constantly saying, how can we be better? How can I be better? 100%. And I think there's some people at home that are afraid to reach out, but that can get into the shape of their life, that can be fit as fuck, but are just afraid of failure, afraid of judgment. But it's sad. It is sad. And again, I was in that position. I didn't reach out to Mark, my old boss, for ages, because I was like, no, I'm too unfit. I had really bad eczema. I had really bad teeth at the time. And I was like, what if people think this, think that? But at the end of the day, respectfully, no one gives a fuck about you but you. Do you get me? You're on your own forever. We're all going to die anyway. So just go and do what you want to do, because you'll succeed if you just take the fucking first step.
I think that's a good spot to leave it on.
Yeah.
Take that first fucking step. Stephen Tierney, thank you very much.
Man, pleasure. Really appreciate coming on.